I grip my water glass tighter, knuckles whitening as Marissa's words hang in the air between us. So next week, I'll be moving into your place, she says with a casual smile, as if announcing she's switching to almond milk or taking up jogging just until I figure things out. The champagne pops open beside me, my father beaming as he pours the bubbling liquid into crystal flutes I've never seen before. My mother's china, the set she saves for Thanksgiving, and Christmas gleams under the chandelier light. The table arrangement should have been my first clue. Something was happening. Marissa seated at the head of the table. The formal settings, the champagne chilling. This isn't Sunday dinner. It's an ambush. I've already started packing. Marissa continues accepting a flute from Dad with a gracious nod. It shouldn't take more than a day to get everything moved in. My parents exchange pleased glances across the table, nodding along, as if this is the most reasonable plan in the world, as if my consent is merely a formality. Already given to new beginnings, my father says, raising his glass. Everyone lifts theirs in response. Everyone except me. The garage boxes make sense now. 3 days ago, I'd found them stacked against the wall, oversized plastic tubs, labeled Marissa's winter clothes and Marissa's books. When I texted her about them, she'd brushed it off. Just temporary storage, she said, just until she found more space in her apartment. I should have known. Just like I should have known what it meant when I confronted my parents about paying Marissa's rent for the 3rd time this year. She's going through a rough patch, Mom had said, waving away my concerns. That's what family does. We help each other. I hear my mother's voice from last week. The phone call I wasn't supposed to overhear while waiting in her kitchen. Eden is so lonely in that big house. She told Aunt Sarah she needs her sister's company. It's perfect timing. Really perfect timing. As if my life exists solely to accommodate Marissa's latest crisis, I set my water glass down, carefully reaching for my purse on the floor beside me. The trembling in my hands has nothing to do with nervousness and everything to do with fury. Why do you look so serious? Marissa laughs, her eyes darting briefly to our parents. This is good news for both of us. You get company, and I get to save on rent for a while. My fingers closed around the manila envelope I'd brought, the one I'd almost left in the car, thinking tonight wasn't the right time. But there is no right time with my family. There is only their time. Their plans, their expectations. The tremor in my hand steadies as I place the envelope on the table. Actually, I say, my voice calmer than I feel. I have news too. My parents' expressions shift instantly. My mother's smile falters, eyes narrowing slightly. My father lowers his champagne glass, forehead creasing with concern. The change is subtle but unmistakable. The united front forming against the daughter who isn't following the script. What kind of news? My mother's tone carries a warning. Don't ruin this. Don't be difficult. I feel the weight of the familiar labels hovering in the air. Selfish, difficult, uncaring. The stakes of defiance are clear. Disagree and become the family villain again. Looking at their expectant faces, I realize this pattern has defined my entire life. Marissa takes, I give. My parents enforce the transaction. The roles never change. The lines never shift. Until now. I place the manila envelope in the center of the table, my fingers lingering on the edge. The room falls silent. My family's anticipation hanging heavy in the air. What's that? My mother's voice carries a hint of irritation, as if my interruption is derailing an already settled plan. This, I say carefully, withdrawing the papers inside, is the sale agreement for my house. I sold it last week. I have 30 days left before I move. The silence that follows is absolute. Marissa's champagne glass slips from her fingers, shattering against the hardwood floor. No one moves to clean it up. My father's mouth opens and closes like a fish, suddenly finding itself on dry land. What Marissa finally whispers. I flip through my phone, pulling up the Pinterest board I discovered this morning. Interesting timing, isn't it? While you were planning to move in, Mom and Aunt Sarah were already designing your future bedroom in my house. I turn the screen toward them, displaying their meticulous board labeled Marissa's new room. My throat tightens as I watch recognition flash across their faces. 9 years of saving every possible penny, working overtime, sacrificing vacations and new clothes, all to afford that house, my dream home. And to them, it was just another resource to be redirected to Marissa. My father stands abruptly, towering over me. "You can just cancel the sale," he says, waving his hand dismissively. "These things have cooling-off periods." My mother rises too, resting her hand on his arm. "Eden, we already promised Marissa she could stay as long as she needed. You can't possibly expect her to find a place in 30 days. Actually, Aunt Sarah pipes up from the end of the table. "We were going to move most of her things next Tuesday while you were at work, just to make it easier for everyone." The coordinated betrayal steals my breath. I glance at Dorothy, my mother's oldest friend, sitting uncomfortably beside Aunt Sarah. She stares fixedly at her plate, avoiding eye contact with everyone. "You can't do this," my father says, his voice hardening. "What about your property taxes coming due? You know, I always help with those." The implied threat isn't subtle, his one annual contribution to my finances dangled now as leverage. "Eden," my mother says softly, her voice taking on the concerned tone she uses when discussing unstable people. "I'm worried about you. This kind of impulsive decision-making isn't like you. Are you feeling all right? Have you been taking care of yourself?" I recognize the strategy immediately. If not compliant, then possibly unwell. It's a familiar path in our family dynamic, one that's kept me in line for years. "You did this on purpose," Marissa accuses, tears streaming down her face. "You found out I needed a place to stay and sold your house just to spite me." The accusation lands like a physical blow. This is how it always goes. My boundaries recast as cruelty. My self-preservation painted as selfishness. For a moment I consider explaining the truth. The catastrophic roof replacement that drained my savings. The water line break, the heating system failure. The mounting financial pressure that made selling not just advisable but necessary. But what would be the point? They've already cast me as the villain in this family drama. Why give them more ammunition? "I made this decision for my own reasons," I say instead, keeping my voice steady. "And it's final. So you're just going to leave your sister homeless?" My mother's voice rises after everything we've done for you. The familiar weight of guilt settles on my shoulders. Everything they've done for me. The invisible ledger of family obligation that only ever seems to accumulate in one direction. Marissa isn't homeless. I point out she has an apartment, and if that doesn't work, she has your spare bedroom. "That's not the point," my father interjects. "Family helps family. Period. Anyone." The unspoken remainder of that sentence hangs in the air. "And you're not being family." I think I say carefully, gathering the sale papers back into the envelope, that we have different definitions of help. Under the table, I feel a gentle squeeze on my hand. Dorothy, still avoiding eye contact with everyone else, whispers. So quietly, I almost miss it. "Good for you." It's a small validation, but in this moment it feels monumental. One person in this room doesn't see me as selfish or cruel for protecting myself. As I sit there with my family's accusations hanging in the air, I wonder whether I should explain the financial struggles that forced me to sell my beloved home, or simply hold firm without justifying my decision. Would sharing my vulnerability help them understand, or just give them new ammunition to use against me? The first call comes Tuesday morning while I'm fixing my coffee. Aunt Sarah's name flashes on my phone screen, unusual for a weekday before 9. "Eden, honey. I just talked to your mother." Her voice carries that particular tone, the one reserved for funerals and family scandals. "Is it true you sold your house just to keep Marissa from staying with you?" My coffee sloshes over the rim of my mug, scalding my fingers. What Marissa called me in tears last night. Said, "You sold your beautiful home out of spite, knowing she needed a place to stay." The burning on my hand fades as a different heat rises in my chest. "That's not what happened. Your sister will be homeless, Eden. I never thought you could be so cruel." The calls continue all day. Uncle Robert, cousin Jennifer, even my father's golf buddy Chuck, whose connection to this situation escapes me entirely. Each conversation follows the same script. Marissa's desperate situation, my apparent heartlessness, their profound disappointment in me. While preparing dinner, I make the mistake of checking Facebook. Marissa's latest post appears at the top of my feed. The hardest lesson in life is learning who truly has your back when times get tough. Family should be forever, not just when it's convenient. 27 sympathetic comments follow, including one from Mom. "We're here for you, sweetheart. Always." The knife in my hand chops carrots with increasing force. The final blow comes Thursday when my colleague Lisa stops by my desk, her expression pinched with concern. "I ran into your sister at Starbucks this morning," she says, lowering her voice. "She told me about the house situation. If you need help finding her temporary housing, my church has a program. The carrot pieces on my cutting board splinter under the blade. What exactly did Marissa tell you?" Lisa shifts uncomfortably. "Just that she's facing homelessness because of some sudden decision you made. She seemed really upset." My jaw tightens so hard it aches. "Thanks for your concern, Lisa. But Marissa isn't homeless. She has an apartment and parents with a 4-bedroom house." After Lisa leaves, I lock myself in the bathroom stall, hands trembling as I text my sister. "Stop telling people I'm making you homeless. It's a lie and you know it." Her response arrives instantly. "You're selling the house I was counting on. What would you call it? The roof replacement came first. $11,000 I hadn't budgeted for." When the March storms revealed leaks in 3 different rooms, I emptied my vacation fund and took a small loan, telling myself it was a one-time emergency. Then the water line broke on April 8th, $200 for emergency repairs and landscape restoration. I canceled plans to visit my college roommate in Arizona, picked up weekend marketing work for a local realtor, and ate ramen for dinner more nights than I care to admit. The heating system failure in June was the final blow. $5,000 I simply didn't have. Each night after work, I'd sit at my kitchen table surrounded by spreadsheets and bank statements, calculating and recalculating figures that refused to balance. The crying started around then. Silent tears that came only after midnight, when I was certain no neighbors walking dogs might glance through my windows and see the truth that the woman they waved to each morning, the one who always appeared composed and capable, was falling apart behind closed doors. My reflection in the bathroom mirror each morning reveals the caused dark hollows beneath my eyes that concealer can't quite hide. Collarbones more pronounced against my blouses. When my pants began slipping at the waist, I punched new holes in my belt rather than buy smaller sizes. Temporary situation, temporary solution. While maintaining this facade, I pack my home each evening. 9 years of memories sorted into keep, donate, and trash. Books that once lined entire walls now fill boxes stacked in corners. The wedding photos of friends, the graduation pictures of cousins, the vacation snapshots, all bubble-wrapped and nestled in containers, labeled with blue marker. Through it all, I document everything. Bank statements in chronological order. House repair invoices filed by date and category, text messages screenshot and saved. A fortress of paper proof against the siege of family fiction. While packing my office bookshelf, I find it a framed photo I'd almost forgotten. Me, standing on the front porch of this house the day I signed the mortgage papers, keys clutched in my hand, smile threatening to split my face. The realtor had taken it as a surprise, catching the exact moment I realized I'd actually done it. Purchased a home entirely on my own. I traced the frame's edge, remembering that feeling. Pride without a hint of apology. Accomplishment without anyone else's approval attached. I place it carefully atop the nearest keep box. This tangible reminder of what I built and what no one can diminish. The doorbell rings Saturday afternoon while I'm wrapping dishes in newspaper. Through the front window, I spot my parents' Buick in the driveway. Marissa's red compact behind it. No warning text, no courtesy call. I consider not answering, but the knocking grows more insistent. When I open the door, they file in like funeral directors, solemn, judgmental, prepared to manage a difficult situation. Mom spots the boxes immediately. You're really going through with this madness. I fold the newspaper around another plate, securing it with tape. The closing is in 3 weeks. Your sister needs you. Mom's voice rises slightly. You've always been selfish, but this is beyond understanding. Your sister needs you. The plate in my hands remains steady, though something shifts inside me. I've spent my entire life being told what Marissa needs. The words emerge calmer than I feel. Did anyone ever ask what I need? Dad clears his throat. Eden, be reasonable. I need financial stability. I need to sleep at night without panic attacks about bills. I need to not drain my retirement fund for house repairs I can't afford. I continue wrapping dishes methodically, unlike past confrontations. I don't stop what I'm doing to give them my full attention. I don't offer beverages or comfortable seats. I continue my work while they stand awkwardly in my half-packed kitchen. We're your family, Mom says, voice wavering between anger and disbelief. Yes, you are. And I've never once asked you for money. Not for college. Not for my first apartment. Not for this house. And not for the repairs that drained my savings. For once, they have no immediate response. Marissa stares at the floor, unable to meet my eyes. Dad examines the ceiling as if architectural features have suddenly become fascinating. I realize with startling clarity that I no longer need their approval or understanding. The constant ache for validation I've carried since childhood has quieted, replaced by something sturdier. When I stand to reach for another stack of plates, I notice my posture has changed. Shoulders back, spine straight, eyes level with theirs instead of downcast as usual. The physical manifestation of an internal shift. Dorothy arrives that evening with Thai food and 2 bottles of wine. She helps me pack photo albums while sharing stories of her own sister, the one who didn't speak to her for 3 years after Dorothy refused to co-sign a loan. Family patterns are the hardest to break, she says, carefully wrapping a crystal vase my grandmother left me. But sometimes breaking them is the only way forward. Monday brings an unexpected text from my colleague Thomas. Need help moving, got a truck and strong back. Family often sees us least clearly. Just say when. That afternoon, Barbara, my financial advisor, emails confirmation of my townhouse application approval. Based on your financials, this move reduces your housing costs by 42%. The right decision for your long-term security. Call if you need anything else. The contrast strikes me as I review these messages over dinner. These people ask what I need rather than telling me what to give. They offer specific help instead of vague demands. That night, I spread my financial documents across the dining room table, bank statements, repair invoices, property tax assessments, retirement account withdrawals, everything meticulously organized. The complete picture of my financial reality. Tomorrow's family meeting won't be an intervention for me, but a reckoning with facts they've chosen to ignore. My one advantage remains unspoken. The sales agreement includes a 30-day rent-back clause. For a month after closing, I can stay in the house while finalizing my townhouse purchase. Breathing room they don't know I have. At exactly 7 o'clock Tuesday evening, the doorbell rings. When I open it, I find not just my parents and Marissa on the porch, but Aunt Sarah, Uncle Robert, and my cousin Jennifer standing behind them. A family, firing squad assembled for execution. I stand at the head of my dining room table, a position that feels foreign yet right. The manila folder in my hands holds every financial statement, every bill, every painful reminder of why I had to sell my home. My fingers no longer tremble as I open it. Before anyone says another word, I need you all to see something. My voice carries a steadiness I don't entirely recognize. The family gathering looks larger than I anticipated. My parents, Marissa, Uncle William, Aunt Sarah, and my support team Dorothy, Barbara, and Thomas. I lay out the documents, methodically arranging them in chronological order. Bank statements, emergency fund withdrawals, contractor invoices. Each paper tells part of the story I've kept hidden. This is the roof replacement from last spring. I slide the $11,200 invoice toward the center where everyone can see it. The 30-year shingles only lasted 22. Insurance covered nothing. Uncle William adjusts his glasses, leaning forward with a frown that cuts deep lines across his forehead. Waterline repair, $8,200. Another paper joins the first. When the city updated the main line, it revealed my connection was deteriorating. No warning, no payment plan offered. NES. My mother shifts in her seat but remains uncharacteristically silent. Heating system replacement, $5,000. The third major bill completes my trinity of home ownership nightmares. The energy efficiency rebate covered barely a quarter of the cost. I maintain direct eye contact as I speak something I rarely managed in family confrontations before. Barbara nods almost imperceptibly from her seat near the window, encouraging me to continue. My emergency fund is gone. I place my bank statement on top, the balance painfully clear. My financial advisor recommended selling while the market is still hot, rather than risking a forced sale later when I might be underwater. Marissa's chair scrapes against the hardwood as she stands abruptly. This is creative accounting, Eden. You've always been good with numbers when it suits you. Her voice carries the familiar accusatory edge. You're just trying to avoid your family responsibilities. Uncle William, whose judgment I've feared since childhood, surprises me by turning toward my sister. Marissa, what's your current employment situation? Last I heard you were between jobs. The unexpected redirection leaves Marissa fumbling. I'm exploring opportunities. The job market is complicated right now. My mother jumps in. William, this isn't about employment. Family duty exists regardless of finances. Eden has always had that beautiful house with all that extra space. Speaking of space, Aunt Sarah interjects her reading glasses perched on her nose as she examines my heating bill. Why can't Marissa stay with you and Roger? You have that guest room you just redecorated. The conversation shifts like a current, pulling away from me and swirling around the room as family members begin questioning the arrangement I've endured my entire adult life. Dorothy clears her throat. I've known this family for 20 years. Eden bought her house without any family financial support. Meanwhile, I've watched Marissa receive help with rent car payments and credit card bills repeatedly. Her voice carries the weight of long observation. The pattern has been clear to everyone except those closest to it. Barbara straightens her blazer before speaking. As Eden's financial advisor, I can tell you that enabling financial dependency ultimately harms both parties. The one giving depletes their resources while the receiver never develops crucial life skills. Thomas, sitting quietly until now, leans forward. My brother lived with my parents until he was 42. They paid his bills, made his appointments, solved his problems. When they passed, he had no idea how to function. He lost their house within a year because he never learned to manage money. He glances at my parents. Sometimes the most loving thing is to stop rescuing someone. The room falls unusually quiet as these outside perspectives penetrate the family mythology we've operated under for decades. Uncle William breaks the silence. Eden, why didn't you share these financial struggles sooner? I hesitate, the question catching me off guard. Should I maintain the privacy and independence that had served as my armor for years, or would opening up to select family members create the support system I never thought possible? Before I can answer, my father shifts in his chair, eyes fixed on the hardwood floor. It's the first time I can remember him sitting through a family discussion without dominating it. My mother's rigid posture gradually softens her hands, now resting open on the table instead of clenched in her lap. Marissa stands suddenly, grabbing her purse. This is ridiculous. You're all acting like I'm some kind of parasite. Eden has always been the golden child with her perfect house and perfect job, while everyone ignores how hard things have been for me. When no one jumps to her defense, she storms toward the door. The slam echoes through the house as she leaves. Uncle William waits for the reverberations to fade before speaking again. I think it's time we had a family financial planning session for everyone. He looks pointedly toward my parents, including Marissa. My mother's eyes glisten with unshed tears, but for once, they're not being weaponized against me. My father reaches for her hand across the table, his face unreadable, but his silence speaking volumes. For the first time in a family confrontation, I'm not the one left feeling like I've done something wrong. I arranged the last of my kitchen glasses into a box, wrapping each one in newspaper with methodical precision. My final week into my 30-day countdown, and the house already feels hollow memories peeling away with each item packed. The doorbell rings. I check my watch right on time. My parents are nothing if not punctual when they have an agenda. I open the door to find not just my parents, but Marissa too, standing on my porch like a united front. My mother clutches her purse with white knuckles. My father's smile appears rehearsed. "Ed and honey," my mother says, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "We've been talking, and we think we found the perfect solution. A compromise." My father adds, his voice carrying that false cheerfulness he reserves for difficult conversations. Marissa follows them in her eyes, darting around my half-packed living room before settling on me with a practiced look of gratitude. "I really appreciate you hearing us out." They arrange themselves on my couch, the only piece of furniture not yet wrapped in moving blankets, while I remain standing. The power dynamic isn't lost on me. "We know selling the house is your decision." My mother begins punctuating her words with a nervous laugh. "But instead of Marissa moving in with you, what if you helped her get her own place?" My father nods enthusiastically while carefully avoiding any mention of actual numbers, just a loan to get her started. "With your success, it would hardly affect you." Unlike me, Marissa interjects, her voice soft and rehearsed. "Some people just have bad luck, you know." The implication hangs heavy in the air between us. "You're successful. She's struggling. You owe her this." My mother leans forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Eden, the family has always stuck together. If you can't help your sister just this once," she trails off. The threat clear. Cut Marissa off, and I cut myself off from the family. I walk to the dining room table where I've laid out several documents. They watch me, confusion replacing their certainty. "I'm meeting with my lender tomorrow," I say, picking up a pre-approval letter. For a townhouse downtown, the monthly payment will be nearly 40% less than my current mortgage. I hand the letter to my father, whose eyes widen at the numbers. Selling this house isn't just about Marissa. It's about rebuilding my emergency savings after 3 major home repairs drained them. It's about reducing my financial stress. I take a deep breath. It's about finally prioritizing my financial health. My mother starts to speak, but I hold up my hand. "I can't support Marissa financially," I continue, "but I can help her support herself." I pull a business card from my pocket and hold it out to Marissa. She stares at it without taking it. "Our marketing department has an entry-level position opening next week. The starting salary would cover rent on a 1-bedroom apartment. I spoke to HR yesterday, and they'd be willing to interview you." Marissa's mouth opens, then closes. For once, she seems genuinely speechless. "This isn't charity," I add. "It's an opportunity. Whether you take it is your choice." My father stands abruptly, moving toward the window where bare hooks show where family photos once hung. "Eden, be reasonable. Marissa needs no." I interrupt, walking to the coffee table where I've placed a manila folder. This is what being reasonable looks like. I am sea of no. I open the folder and pull out a spreadsheet, placing it on the table between us. The itemized list contains every financial gift my parents have given Marissa over the past 5 years. Car payments, rent supplements, credit card bailouts. The total at the bottom, circled in bright red, makes my mother gasp. I compiled this from the conversations you've had in front of me. I suspect the actual total is higher. My father picks up the paper, his forehead creasing as he studies the numbers. "This isn't love," I say quietly. "It's dependence, and it's hurting both of you." My father opens his mouth to object, then falls silent, his eyes fixed on the spreadsheet. "We just wanted to help her," my mother whispers, tears welling in her eyes. "The best help is teaching someone to stand on their own," I reply, my voice steady. despite the hammering in my chest. You taught me that once, remember? When I wanted to quit college because it was too hard. The memory hangs between us, my father refusing to let me move back home. When calculus overwhelmed me, insisting I find a tutor instead. We're doing you no favors by making life too easy, he'd said. Then strange how principles change when applied to different daughters. The silence stretches broken only by the sound of packing tape from the box I'd abandoned when they arrived. Finally, my father puts his arm around my mother's shoulders. We should go, he says quietly. They walk to the door, my mother not quite meeting my eyes. Marissa hesitates, looking back at the business card still in my hand. I don't need your charity job, she says, but there's less conviction in her voice than usual. I place the card on the entryway table. It's not charity, it's opportunity. She turns away, but as she follows my parents out, I catch her slip the card into her purse when she thinks I'm not looking. The door closes behind them. I stand in my half-empty living room listening to their car start and pull away. The silence feels different now, not hollow, but open, expansive. I sink onto the couch, running my hand over the familiar fabric. Tomorrow, Nad goes into storage until I move into the townhouse. 9 years of memories in this house, and now an uncertain future lies ahead. I feel both liberated and isolated, triumphant and alone. The family dinner next month looms in my mind. Will they even still want me there? Has this confrontation permanently altered our relationships? The answering machine light blinks with 3 new messages. Probably more relatives calling to weigh in. I ignore it, focusing instead on the business card. Marissa took one small step, perhaps the first of many. I stand in the center of my downtown loft, savoring the space around me. Sunlight streams through the industrial windows, warming the hardwood floors beneath my bare feet. 3 months ago, this place felt foreign, a compromise rather than a choice. Now it feels like the home I never knew I needed. Another box checked off the budget. I tell myself updating my financial tracking app. My mortgage payment appears in green, a full 30% less than what I paid for the Craftsman. Barbara's weekly check-ins have transformed what was once my greatest source of anxiety into a structured ritual I actually look forward to. The kitchen island holds my newest purchase, a professional-grade camera that would have remained a distant wish in my old financial reality. My first photography class starts tomorrow evening. The course catalog still open on my tablet. I run my fingers over the camera's textured grip. Permission to create rather than just survive. My phone buzzes with a reminder. Sunday dinner at my parents'. I feel the familiar tightening in my shoulders, then consciously release it. These dinners have changed just as I have. Later, I step through my parents' front door carrying a bottle of wine rather than my usual tension headache. Dad greets me with a hug that feels genuine instead of perfunctory. Eden, come see what your sister brought, he says, his voice carrying none of the comparative undertones that once filled our interactions. In the dining room, Marissa arranges flowers in a simple vase. She looks up, her smile reaching her eyes. They gave me my first business cards today, she says, pulling one from her pocket. Asant marketing coordinator. Sounds fancy for someone who mostly makes coffee runs, but I'm learning so much. She hands me the card proudly without the defensive edge that once colored her accomplishments. My mother appears in the doorway carrying a casserole that isn't placed strategically closer to Marissa's place setting. Tell us more about the social media campaign you mentioned last week, Mom says, looking directly at Marissa. Then she turns to me. And Eden, how was your photography class? I blink, still adjusting to the novelty of balanced attention. As we eat, I notice my father asking thoughtful questions of both daughters, not just fawning over Marissa's every word. 1 week later, laughter fills my loft as Dorothy raises her glass. To homes that shelter us and boundaries that protect us, she toasts. Around my coffee table sit Barbara, Uncle William, and me, my chosen family, alongside the blood relative who surprised me most. Dorothy presents me with a frame containing 2 photos. Me signing my original mortgage papers 9 years ago, and me holding the keys to this townhouse. 2 brave beginnings, she says softly. 2 very different women, I add, recognizing how much I've changed. The following weekend finds Marissa and me at my kitchen table surrounded by spreadsheets and calculator apps. So if I put away 15% of each paycheck, I could have first and last month's rent by January, she says, chewing her lip as she runs the numbers again. Our parents sit on my sofa watching this scene with a mix of pride and regret. We should have done this years ago, Mom admits quietly. We thought we were helping, but we were hurting both of you in different ways. Dad nods his eyes, revealing the difficult journey of unlearning decades of enabling behavior. As I watch Marissa calculate her budget with determination I'd never seen before, I wonder about the fine line between helping and enabling those we love. Is it ever possible to find the perfect balance between supporting family and maintaining healthy boundaries? Or must we sometimes allow others to struggle so they can truly add story too? I stand alone in the bridal suite at Wamut Valley Vineyard, staring at my reflection in the full-length mirror. My wedding dress fits perfectly, every seam and crystal exactly where it should be. The makeup artist outdid herself. My eyes look wider, my cheekbones more defined, my lips the perfect shade of rose. The white roses in my bouquet rest on the vanity. Waiting, I check my phone for the 14th time in 20 minutes. No messages from Mom, nothing from Dad, not even a text from Logan. A soft knock at the door breaks the silence. Martha, the wedding planner, pokes her head in her practiced smile, barely hiding her concern. It's time, Caroline. Are you ready? My eyes drift to the window overlooking the ceremony space. 90 guests are seated in neat white chairs. The string quartet plays softly, probablys and hafted, and in the front row, 3 empty seats stare back at me like accusations. They're not coming, are they? My voice trembles despite my best efforts. Martha's smile falters. There's still time, she says, but we both know it's a lie. I take a deep breath and smooth the silk of my gown. Let's go. The doors to the garden open, and 90 heads turn to watch me walk alone down the aisle. I feel their sympathetic gazes like physical touches, little pats of pity that make my skin crawl. Some whisper behind cupped hands. Others offer encouraging smiles that only make the hollow feeling in my chest expand. My focus narrows to Ethan waiting at the altar, his eyes steady on mine. The love radiating from him is almost enough to push away the memory of my mother's voice 3 days ago. Well, try, sweetie. Logan's firm has an event that weekend. Mom's dismissive tone had cut through the phone like she was declining a casual lunch invitation, not her only daughter's wedding. I can pay for the flights I'd offered, desperation clawing at my throat. The hotel, anything please, Mom. In the background, Dad's voice had drifted through. Tell her we're busy now. Placing one foot in front of the other, I forced myself to breathe. In, out. One step, another step. I will not cry. I will not give them the satisfaction, even in their absence. When I reach Ethan, he takes my hands in his. His fingers are warm, solid, real. I'm here, he whispers, too low for anyone else to hear. We're enough for a moment. I'm 8 years old again, standing in our living room, while Mom and Dad fuss over Logan's debate trophy. They position it carefully on the mantel, step back to admire it from different angles, take photos to send to relatives. My art contest certificate sits forgotten in a kitchen drawer. I'd shown it to them earlier that day, pride bubbling up as I explained how the teacher said I had exceptional talent. Mom had glanced at it and said, "That's nice, honey," before turning back to the dinner she was preparing. Later, Dad had ruffled my hair absently. Logan needs more support. He's going places. He'd explained when I asked why they went to all his events, but missed my art showcase. You understand, don't you, Caroline? Caroline and Mom, never missing an opportunity. Why can't you be more like your brother? He focuses on what matters. I'd tried harder after that. Academic awards, college scholarships, business success. Each achievement a desperate attempt to turn their heads in my direction. Each one noted with distracted acknowledgement. If acknowledged at all, the ceremony continues around me. I say my vows, my voice growing stronger with each promise. I choose a future based on seeing each other clearly. I tell Ethan the words carrying more weight than anyone but he understands. When the officiant pronounces us husband, wife, Ethan's mother envelops me in a warm embrace. "You're one of us now, dear," she whispers, and something tight in my chest loosens just a fraction. The photographer captures us on the dance floor, Ethan twirling me under the string lights. His cousins join us, forming a circle of laughter and music. For moments at a time, I forget about the family-shaped hole in my celebration. I forget about the phone I've checked too many times. I forget about the explanations I've given to curious guests. At the reception, Sarah, my college roommate, raises her glass. "To finding the family who deserves you," she says, her eyes holding mine with fierce loyalty. A murmur of agreement ripples through the crowd. The truth of her words hits me like a physical blow. All these years I've been invisible to the people who should have seen me most clearly. I've been chasing approval from those who never intended to give it. When the celebration quiets for a moment, I slip away to check my phone one last time. No missed calls, no messages, not even a token congratulations. Ethan finds me there staring at the blank screen. "They missed something beautiful today," he says, wrapping an arm around my waist. I look up at him, at the man who has never once made me feel like I needed to earn his attention. I think of his family who welcomed me without reservation. I think of friends who traveled across the country to stand beside me. I set the phone down. Their choice, I say, feeling lighter than I have in years. Not my burden. And for the first time, I almost believe it. 2 years later, I leaned back in my ergonomic chair, staring at the notification on my computer screen. Acquisition of Crescent Motion Studio finalized at $21 million. 2 years of negotiation, 5 years of building from scratch, and now validation in the form of 8 figures. My office door bursts open as my team floods in with bottles of champagne and plastic flutes. To Carol and Jen. My creative director raises her glass. The woman who built something from nothing while certain people weren't looking. I smile, clinking glasses with the 12 people who actually showed up for me, unlike my family. We're celebrating when my phone buzzes. A notification from Instagram. Logan posting about his twins' private school fundraiser. I shouldn't look. I do anyway. There they are. Mom and Dad flanking Logan and his wife Hannah. Their identical daughters in matching plaid uniforms. The caption reads, "Family tradition continues. 3rd generation at Westridge Academy." Dad's arm is draped around Logan's shoulder. Mom beaming at her granddaughters. I swipe through more photos. Logan's family vacation to Hawaii last month. The holiday gathering I wasn't invited to. Dad's retirement party. In each one, they look like the perfect American family minus one daughter. What's more telling than the photos is what they represent. The vacation rental in Maui costs at least $5,000 per week. Westridge Academy runs $30,000 per year per child. Logan's house in the background of several shots sits in a neighborhood where nothing sells for under $2 million. All funded by my parents' retirement savings and family investments, according to the gossip from distant cousins who occasionally remember I exist. Caroline. Jen touches my arm. "We lost you for a minute." I lock my phone screen. Just checking messages. Where were we? The celebration continues around me, but I'm mentally calculating. Logan's law firm is moderately successful, but nowhere near the level that would support his lifestyle. My parents have been quietly propping him up for years, depleting their retirement to maintain his image. Meanwhile, my $21 million acquisition doesn't warrant so much as a text message. After the team leaves, I scroll through my parents' social media. Hundreds of posts about Logan's accomplishments, the twins' milestones, family gatherings. My existence is limited to a single birthday wish last year, a generic happy birthday Caroline, without even a photo. I close my laptop and make a decision. The next morning, I call my financial advisor the Porsche Tan Metallic Gray. I want to complete the purchase today. 3 hours later, I'm signing paperwork for a $135,000 car. It's extravagant, unnecessary, and exactly what I want. Not because I need my family's approval, but because I never needed their money. Back home, I take a single photo of the car in my driveway, the afternoon sun gleaming off its metallic finish. I post it to Instagram with a simple caption, "Dreams realized." For 3 days, nothing. Then on Wednesday afternoon, my phone lights up with a name I haven't seen in 5 years. Mom calling. My stomach tightens as I answer. "Hello, Caroline." Mom's voice carries that particular blend of authority and urgency she reserves for family crisis. "We need to talk. Family meeting tomorrow." "Family meeting," I repeat, hearing the disbelief in my voice. "After 5 years of silence, you're calling about a family meeting. This is important." She pauses, and I hear Dad's voice in the background. "Tell her it's important," he says, as though I can't hear him. "What's important?" I ask. "My wedding wasn't important. My business wasn't important. What exactly matters now?" Mom's voice tightens. "It's complicated. Financial issues. We need to discuss it as a family. Of course they saw the car. They know about the acquisition. Now suddenly I'm family again. Tomorrow at 2, I say before hanging up." The next morning I slide into my new Porsche, the leather seat cool against my back. The drive to my childhood home takes 40 minutes. Time enough to remember birthdays celebrated without me. Achievements unacknowledged. Holidays spent alone while they gathered without me. I park in the circular driveway, my metallic gray Porsche looking starkly modern against their traditional colonial. For a moment I sit there, hands gripping the steering wheel. The last time I stood on that porch was 6 years ago when I'd announced my engagement to Ethan. Mom had nodded politely while Dad checked his watch repeatedly, clearly waiting for me to leave. They've never needed me before. Why now? My phone buzzes with a text from Ethan. "Remember who you are. Call me if you need extraction." I smile despite myself. Another notification appears. An email from Naomi Blake, the investor who believed in Crescent Motion when no one else would. "Your worth isn't measured by those who couldn't see it." A final alert. My assistant confirming tomorrow's meetings. "Don't let them take too much time. You have the production review at 4. Come on." I take a deep breath, remembering my therapist's words from last week's session. Boundaries aren't punishments, they're protection. I straighten my shoulders and step out of the car. Before I can knock, the front door swings open. Mom and Dad stand there, their expressions shifting from annoyance to shock as they take in the Porsche behind me. "You've done well for yourself," Dad says. Not hello, not "I've missed you," just an assessment of my financial worth. "Yes," I reply simply. No hugs, no warmth. They lead me to the dining room table where Logan and Hannah already sit, their faces a study and calculated concern. "Caroline." Logan nods, as though we spoke last week, instead of 5 years ago. "Let's get straight to business," Dad says, pulling out financial folders. I remain standing, my purse strapped tight in my grip, the only outward sign of the turmoil beneath my calm exterior. "No. First, I'd like to know why I'm suddenly important enough to include in family discussions after being excluded from everything else for years." Mom and Dad exchange glances. Logan shifts uncomfortably. "We can discuss that later." Mom says, her voice slipping into the dismissive tone. I know too well. "We have more pressing matters now." "I'm not in a rush," I reply, still standing. "And I'm not interested in being convenient family only when you need something." For the first time in my adult life, I see uncertainty flicker across my father's face. In this moment, I understand they need me now. And for once, I have the power to decide what happens next. The dining room of my childhood home feels smaller than I remember. Richard sits at the head of the table, hands folded like he's presiding over a board meeting rather than a family crisis. Elaine perches beside him, her posture perfect despite the worry lines creasing her forehead. Across from me, Logan slumps in his chair, his designer shirt wrinkled at the cuffs. Hannah sits beside him, a leather photo album open on her lap. "It's foreclosure, Caroline." Richard's voice is firm but carries an unfamiliar tremor. Logan's mortgage is 3 months behind. The twins' private school tuition is unpaid for the semester. I say nothing, letting the silence stretch. 2 years of no contact, and this is what brings us together. You need to help your brother. Richard slides a document across the polished oak table. Loan paperwork already filled out. The presumption steals my breath. "Think about your niece and nephew?" Elaine's voice catches. A practiced hitch that once would have sent me scrambling to please her. "They're just children. They shouldn't suffer because of financial difficulties." Logan leans forward, eyes narrowed. "We're family. That's what family does. When one of us succeeds, we help the others." Hannah flips the album, open wider, pushing it toward me. "They ask about Aunt Caroline all the time." She points to photos of children I barely recognize, their faces shining at a birthday party I wasn't invited to attend. "Maddie wants to know why you never visit." Richard clears his throat. "We've done everything we could. Our retirement fund is." He trails off, exchanging a look with Elaine. "We've been supporting them as best we can." The implication hangs in the air between us. My success means I owe them. My independence is selfish in the face of family need. I close the photo album and slide it back across the table. "Where were you at my wedding?" The question falls from my lips with surprising calm. Logan blinks. "What? My wedding 2 years ago. Where were you?" Elaine's hand flutters to her throat. "We were busy. Logan had that event with his firm." "It wasn't convenient," Richard adds, as if commenting on a missed dinner party. I nod slowly, feeling something crystallize inside me. "And yet here you are now, because you saw the Porsche on Instagram. You only contacted me because you saw the car." Logan's face flushes. "That's not fair, isn't it?" I sit straighter, feeling the power of my financial independence in my spine. Where there once was anxious curve, there's steel. I built everything alone. Every scholarship, every client, every late night. "Where were any of you?" Richard's eyes narrow. "What's that got to do with the current situation?" "Everything." I fold my hands on the table, mirroring his posture. "I'm listening. Tell me why I should write a check today." Logan slams his hand on the table. "You always had to prove something. Always showing off how smart you were, how creative, how special. Some of us were just trying to live normal lives." Richard's hand settles on Logan's shoulder. "Your brother had more potential. We had to nurture that. You were always so independent. We're still your parents." Elaine whispers, tears gathering in her eyes. "Despite everything, you were parents entitled only." My voice remains steady, surprising even myself. "You missed my high school graduation. You missed my college scholarship ceremony. You missed the launch of my company. You missed my wedding." I tap the table with each missed milestone. "You missed my life. And now you want to share in what that life has built." "Caroline," Richard starts, "you didn't build this success." I continue, "You don't get to share it." My phone vibrates in my pocket. I glance down to see Ethan's message. "You okay?" Meeting running long in her ASO. The sight of his name brings back Naomi Blake's words when she invested in my startup. "You don't need approval from anyone who can't see your light." I think of my team at Crescent Motion, their faces shining as we toasted the acquisition. People who chose to see me, to support me, to believe in what I could build. In my briefcase rests the contract for the foundation funding signed by the board last Tuesday. People who trust me with purpose, not just money. Richard slides the loan paperwork closer to me. "We're only asking for what's reasonable. Family helps family. The interest rate is quite fair," Elaine adds as if offering a favor. Logan's smirk returns confident now. Blood is thicker than water. "Caro." I stand slowly, deliberately. The motion draws their eyes, their bodies leaning forward expectantly. I reach for my briefcase and set it on the table with a soft thud. I've made a different decision, I say. Logan's eyes fix on my hands as I unlatch the briefcase. Richard shifts forward in his chair. Elaine's fingers twist the napkin in her lap. Instead of a checkbook, I withdraw a single document and place it on the table. This is the announcement for the Rivera Media Scholarship Foundation. $16 million to create opportunities for young women in digital media arts. I smooth the paper with my fingertips. The press release goes out tomorrow morning. 16 million. Logan chokes out the number. Named after Miss Rivera, my high school media arts teacher, the woman who attended my gallery showings when my family was too busy. The money is legally protected in a foundation trust. The board approved the allocation last week. Silence falls like concrete across the table. I'm helping girls who never got the applause I didn't get. I say, gathering my belongings. That's what family means to me. Logan's face contorts, veins standing out on his forehead. You're wasting it on strangers. On nobody girls who deserve better than what I got. I snap my briefcase closed. Girls who need someone to see them, to invest in them. My parents sit stunned, staring at the paper that represents millions they'll never touch. I pick up my phone, turning the screen toward them. A recording app displays an active timer, 36 to 14 and counting. I've also documented every manipulative message from today, I say quietly. Every threat, every demand, every guilt trip, just in case anyone gets creative with legal claims against the foundation. I walk toward the door, my footsteps echoing in the silence. Behind me, I hear Logan's chair scrape back violently. You can't just leave. His voice cracks. We need that money. I pause at the threshold, not turning back. No, Logan, what you needed was to show up. At my graduation, at my company launch, at my wedding, I place my hand on the doorknob. But that opportunity has passed. The door closes behind me with a soft click that sounds like freedom. The Porsche purr beneath me as I drive away from my childhood home, my knuckles no longer white on the steering wheel. The further I get, the steadier my hands become. I press the call button on my dashboard. It's done. I tell Ethan when he answers. They showed exactly who they are. 3. How bad was it? His voice fills the car, concern wrapped around each word. Exactly what we expected. I take a deep breath, feeling lighter than I have in hours. Logan lost his mind when I showed him the foundation paperwork. Dad tried to salvage the situation, but Mom just kept crying about family obligation. Are you okay? A fair question. I glance at myself in the rearview mirror, surprised to find no tears, no flesh of embarrassment, only a clear-eyed woman looking back. I'm better than okay. For the first time, I saw them clearly without hoping for something different. I'm proud of you, Ethan says. Remember foundation board meeting at 9 tomorrow morning. Everything's ready for the press announcement. The timing had been deliberate. Establish the foundation legally before any family confrontation. Schedule the announcement before they could regroup. No emotional pleas, just legal structures they couldn't penetrate. The Rivera Media Scholarship would be my legacy, not a family drama. I'll be ready, I promise. Before ending the call, the first message comes at 11:47 p.m. By midnight, my phone buzzes continuously with family emergency texts. I silence it and place it face down on my nightstand. The house is quiet except for Ethan's steady breathing beside me. I don't need to read their messages to know what they contain. Morning brings 6 voicemails from my mother. The progression evident in her tone, from weepy pleas about family unity to sharp accusations of betrayal, culminating in threats about what people will think of a daughter abandoning her family in their time of need. You've dealt with worse, I tell myself as I apply mascara. The morning routine grounding me. My navy suit, the one I wore when signing the acquisition, papers hangs ready on the closet door. Ethan hands me coffee in my favorite mug. Logan's been calling business associates, he says, scrolling through his phone. And your dad tried reaching my uncle. Predictable. I take a sip. The coffee bitter but fortifying. They're moving faster than I expected, but not more cleverly. The foundation board meeting goes smoothly. 12 accomplished women from media and finance, all personally vetted, all committed to supporting young female artists. The press release is approved unanimously. Launch details finalized. The first scholarship recipient will be selected in 6 months. I'm reviewing the event venue proposal when Janine from reception calls. "Miss Rivers, your family is here. They're causing quite a scene." Through the glass walls of my office, I can see security already moving toward the lobby. I straighten papers that don't need straightening. "Have security escort them out, please," calmly and professionally. I watch through the windows as my mother's voice rises over the general office hum. My daughter is abandoning her family. Her hands gesture wildly, her pearl earrings swinging with the motion. Logan stands beside her, arms crossed, face flushed with the particular shade of red it used to turn when he was denied something as a child. My team watches me for cues. I stand, smooth my skirt, and walk to my office door. It's being handled. I tell them with a calm, "I've practiced for this moment. Let's continue with our work." Security escorts my family toward the elevators. Logan's voice carries back. "This isn't over. We have family obligations you can't just ignore." That evening, I draft a single email to all 3 of them. "I have documented your harassment at my workplace. Any further attempts to contact me at my office will result in a formal complaint. All communication regarding family matters must be directed through my attorney, whose contact information is attached. Caroline." "Direct and clear," says Patricia, my therapist. 2 days later, we sit in her sunlit office, the faint smell of jasmine tea between us. "How did it feel sending that necessary?" I trace the pattern on the armchair. "Not satisfying." "Exactly. More like setting a boundary," she offers. "Yes." I look up at her. "They're showing who they've always been, aren't they? People tend to reveal themselves under pressure." Patricia says, "What you're seeing now isn't new behavior, just intensified." The realization washes over me. Simple but profound. I wanted their love, but they wanted my resources. That's an important distinction. All those years, my voice trails off as connections form. The childhood neglect, the absent parents, the way they appeared only when I had something to offer. It wasn't my job to earn their love. It was their job to give it freely. Cly. And now I know I'm not responsible for fixing them. I say, feeling the truth of it settle in my bones. There's freedom in that. The next morning brings news that Logan has contacted the Portland Chronicle about a family dispute. The reporter, smarter than Logan anticipated, asked why none of them attended my wedding. The resulting story paints a picture Logan hadn't intended of parents absent during milestones suddenly interested when money appeared. My mother's social media rant generates an unexpected wave of support for me. Former classmates, business associates, even distant relatives reach out with messages of solidarity. "We always wondered why they never talked about your success," writes a cousin I haven't seen in years. Richard's attempts to contact my investors fizzle when they refuse to discuss a personal matter. The community rallies around the Scholarship Foundation instead, with applications already pouring in months before the official launch. The Portland Business Journal requests an interview about the foundation. I agree. Setting clear parameters. We'll discuss the scholarship's purpose and impact, not family matters. The reporter, Delea Warren, meets me at the foundation's temporary office space. "This is an impressive initiative," she says, reviewing the prospectus. $16 million is substantial seed funding. What inspired such generosity, Akai? Consider my words carefully. I had a teacher who saw potential in me when others didn't. Miss Rivera changed my life by simply paying attention. I want to create that opportunity for young women who might otherwise be overlooked. You've built an impressive career, Delea notes. Crescent Motion's acquisition was one of the biggest tech stories last year. Is your family proud? The question hangs between us. I could dodge it, redirect to safer territory. Instead, I meet her eyes directly. My success was built without family support. They weren't at my wedding, my graduation, or when I sold my company. Delea's pen pauses. That provides interesting context for the Foundation's mission. Later that week, the article appears with the headline, "Self-Made Success Creates Legacy of Support." The contrast between my generosity and my family's entitlement becomes public narrative. When news of Logan's house foreclosure breaks days later, community connects the dots without my saying a word. Ethan handles increased security protocols at our home. My business team manages communication strategy, filtering messages, and prioritizing foundation work. Naomi Blake, my first investor and mentor, releases a statement supporting my commitment to lifting others rather than enabling dependency. My college friends form a protective circle, filling our calendar with dinners and events that leave no room for dwelling on family drama. Patricia provides anchoring during weekly sessions. The United Front becomes its own kind of family, chosen, intentional, supportive. 2 weeks after the confrontation, I received the Business Leadership Award from the Women in Media Alliance. Standing at the podium looking out at faces that genuinely celebrate my success, I realize the tables have completely turned. My parents' retirement plans are now delayed indefinitely. Hannah's social position in her precious country, club circles, has eroded with their financial collapse. Logan's twins will transfer to public school next semester. Meanwhile, the foundation thrives, generating positive coverage that spreads beyond Portland. The story resonates not because I sought revenge, but because I chose to transform pain into purpose. The scholarship committee has selected 3 finalists for the first award. Janine tells me, placing the portfolios on my desk. They'd like your input by Friday. I open the first file and begin reviewing the work of a young woman whose teacher noticed her talent when no one else did. The circle completes itself. Healing through action rather than looking backward. Family defined by what it does not, what it claims to be. For the first time in my life, I feel truly seen. In weeks to follow, I deleted the 4th voicemail from Aunt Meredith without listening past her plea of, "Everyone misses you, Caroline." The Thanksgiving invitation sits in my email inbox. Its subject line, "Family needs to be together," a transparent attempt at manipulation. My phone chimes with a text from my cousin Drew. "I don't understand this rift between you and Uncle Richard. Can't you just talk to them?" Of course he doesn't understand. He wasn't at my empty wedding. He didn't witness 20 years of invisibility. A letter arrived yesterday from Mom. The elegant handwriting, unmistakably hers. "We always believed in you," she wrote, as if rewriting our entire history. The envelope sits half-burned in my fireplace, its edges curled and blackened like the lies it contains. Dad called my office directly last week. "We need to clear the air," he said, his voice lacking any acknowledgement of what they'd done. My assistant, following strict instructions, told him I was unavailable permanently. The final straw comes when Logan sends the twins to my office with handmade cards. "We miss Aunt Caroline," written in childish handwriting I know isn't theirs. The manipulation is so transparent it makes my stomach turn. They're using every emotional lever they can find. Ethan observes that evening, examining the cards on our kitchen counter. They're desperate. I flip through the week's collection of attempts, but they still haven't actually apologized. The family attorney calls next, his voice professionally neutral. There are moral obligations to consider, Caroline. Family ties carry certain responsibilities. The implication is clear. I'm the villain in their story, the heartless daughter who abandoned her struggling family. Pastor Wilson from the church I stopped attending years ago leaves a voicemail. "Your parents are deeply concerned. Perhaps we could meet to discuss reconciliation." 2 childhood friends, neither of whom I've spoken to in a decade, suddenly reach out. "Your parents seem so heartbroken," says one. "The holidays are for forgiveness," says the other. When Logan's wife, Hannah, emails photos of the twins in Halloween costumes, "The children ask about you constantly," I nearly throw my phone across the room. They're framing this entire situation as my responsibility, I tell my therapist during our weekly session. My forgiveness, my duty, my failure to be the bigger person. And how does that make you feel? She asks, her eyes steady on mine. Angry, I admit, but also validated. They wouldn't fight this hard if they weren't afraid of losing control. The Foundation's selection meeting provides an unexpected challenge. The committee recommends a scholarship for Maya Harrison, a 17-year-old filmmaker whose application video shows remarkable talent and painful familiarity. She reminds me of myself. I tell Ethan that night, quiet, determined, overlooked. I watch her interview video again. Maya's eyes hold the same weariness I see in my own wedding photos. She talks about finding her voice through filmmaking when her family couldn't hear her. What if I'm wrong to cut them off completely? The question slips out before I can stop it. Ethan sits beside me on the couch. What brought this on, Maya? If I'm telling these girls to find their strength, am I modeling that by running away from my family? Is setting boundaries running away? Ethan asks. I consider this. No, boundaries aren't abandonment. What would you tell Maya if her family treated her like yours treated you? The answer comes easily. I tell her she deserves people who see her worth. The Thursday before Thanksgiving, I host dinner at our home. The dining room table extends to accommodate everyone. Ethan beside me, Naomi across from us, my business team scattered between. Maya sits at the opposite end, her scholarship certificate framed on the sideboard behind her. Our home glows with warmth my parents' house never had. Candles flicker in silver holders. Laughter rings against the ceiling. No one here needs to prove their worth to be seen. I raise my glass to those who see us as we are. The toast echoes around the table. My phone stays off, notifications silenced. The meal unfolds in perfect rhythm, conversations flowing without the undercurrent of judgment I grew up with. Over dessert, I announce the Foundation's new mentorship program. I'll be personally involved with each recipient, I explain. We're creating connections that matter. Maya's eyes widen. You'll be mentoring us yourself. Every step of the way, I smile at her. This foundation isn't just about money. It's about building something meaningful together. Naomi nods approvingly. You've created structures that can't be interfered with. The Foundation's independence is legally secured. I confirm its success will be measured by impact, not approval. Later, as we clear plates, Ethan turns on the local news. Right on schedule, the feature about the Foundation airs, strategically timed to coincide with my family's traditional dinner hour. On screen, I speak with confidence I've earned. We build family through action, not obligation. The report transitions to financial analysis, contrasting the Foundation's transparent governance with examples of mismanagement, including a not-so-subtle reference to Logan's business failures. Maya watches, transfixed. They're actually comparing your brother's company to the Foundation. Facts speak for themselves. I stack dessert plates with steady hands. The community has validated what my family refused to see. The following morning, my parents request a meeting at a coffee shop downtown. I arrive in the Porsche, the car that triggered their sudden interest after years of silence. Dad looks older than I remember, defeat etched into lines around his mouth. We should have been there, he admits, staring at his untouched coffee. At the wedding. I ask, though I know that's not all he means. Everywhere. His voice cracks. All those years. Mom's eyes shimmer with tears. How can we fix this? The question hangs between us. 3 months ago, I might have grabbed at this opening, desperate for any acknowledgement. Now I feel only calm clarity. Some things can't be fixed, I tell them. Only accepted. Mom flinches. I'm not closing the door forever, I continue. But I need accountability, not convenience. I'll consider limited contact after you both start therapy. That's unnecessary. Dad begins, the old dismissiveness rising. It's non-negotiable. I sip my tea, the warmth spreading through my chest like certainty. They exchange glances, the silent communication of people who never expected consequences for their choices. Logan's financial collapse has stripped away their illusions of his superiority. My success exists beyond their reach. The foundation thrives independent of their approval. When they leave, no agreements have been made, no concessions offered. I watch them walk to their car, a sensible sedan now, the luxury vehicle's long gone. I drive away without looking back, freedom replacing obligation in every beat of my heart. The foundation awaits. Maya's project needs review. My chosen family expects me for dinner. For the first time, I'm moving towards something instead of away from someone, and that makes all the difference. I stand in the sunlit studio of the Crescent Foundation, watching Maya adjust her camera settings. The morning light filters through the tall windows, casting golden patterns across the polished hardwood floor. It's been a year since I faced my family for the last time. "What do you think about this angle?" Maya looks up, her eyes bright, with the same creative fire Miss Rivera once saw in mine. "Try moving it slightly to the left. Catch how the light falls across the subject." My voice carries the confidence of a mentor, now not the desperate plea of a daughter seeking approval. On the wall behind Maya, photos document our scholarship recipients' project stories they never could have told without the foundation's support. Each frame represents a voice that might have been silenced, just as mine nearly was. My office here replaced the childhood bedroom where I once dreamed of being seen. Every element, from the ergonomic chair to the awards displayed without apology on floating shelves, I chose deliberately. Nothing inherited, nothing tainted by obligation or guilt. I finished the final cut of my documentary. Maya says, straightening up, "Would you watch it with me?" We move to the editing bay where her project plays on the high-definition monitor. The documentary follows 3 generations of women in a rural Oregon family, their struggles and resiliences beautifully captured through Maya's lens. Watching her work, I feel a swell of pride entirely different from anything I've known before. This isn't about me. It's about what she's created, what she'll continue to create. When the final credits roll, Maya turns to me, tears brightening her eyes. "You're the reason I believe I can do this," she says, wrapping her arms around me in a spontaneous hug. I think of Miss Rivera, how she recognized something in me when my own parents couldn't be bothered. How her belief sustained me through years of family indifference. Now the cycle continues, not of neglect, but of genuine support. Later that week, I stand at the podium of the Portland Arts Center, accepting a Community Leadership Award. The audience applauds. A sea of faces turn toward me with appreciation, not pity. Ethan sits in the front row, beaming with unrestrained pride. There are no empty seats causing me pain tonight. No phantom family members I wish were here. Every person in this room truly sees me for who I am. "Thank you," I begin, my voice steady. This journey began in invisibility and has led to impact. For years I measured my worth by the approval I couldn't earn from people who refused to give it. I pause, let my gaze sweep across the room. Now I measure it by what we build together. The standing ovation washes over me like a cleansing wave. My therapist calls it post-traumatic growth. This strange peace I found after accepting that some wounds never fully heal. I maintain careful boundaries with extended family. Holiday gatherings now center around chosen family. Celebrations filled with genuine joy rather than dread. Ethan and I have established our own traditions. Naomi's retirement party at the foundation last month brought together the circles of support that lifted me when blood ties failed. The emergency fund for students facing financial hardship. My latest project ensures that talent isn't crushed by circumstance. I understand now what these young women need because I lived without it. Unconditional belief in their potential. Driving home through Portland in my Porsche, I pass the coffee shop where I once edited videos on a borrowed laptop. Through the window, I catch a glimpse of my parents, walking on the sidewalk. Our eyes meet briefly. I don't stop. There's no pain in this moment, only peaceful acknowledgement. They taught me what love isn't. Ethan and my work taught me what it is. Tomorrow, Maya sets up for her next project. I'll be there, camera in hand,